But in order for a solidification process to take place, we had to start on the path of the square, which goes up to the left, created a down, and created a right. Because before then, none of these things were things. They were nothing. They were mental. And things got to a point where the mental state had to become the middle ground. In order for the mental state to become the middle ground, we had to start vibrating. And this vibration that's taking place is nothing but sound. And this sound creates light. Light creates life. And so on and so forth. So when we go into hydrogen, or when we come out of the hydrogen into this helium state, at some point in time, you was inside that hydrogen. At some point in time, in order for you to get here. You know this to be a fact because you look up in the sky and you see that sun. You see this planet orbiting around the sun. It came out of the sun. And when it solidified into a liquefied state. It didn't solidify into a solid state. It solidified into a liquid state. From that liquid state, the sun rays came to this planet and started to add this fluoride. It started to add the neon and the sodium and the magnesium and the aluminum and the silicone that made things start to solidify, or they became solid. They became more solid and more permanent, or more hardened. You know, they were more placed inside of this time. So this solidified state was created in order for the acknowledgement of the sun that created it. And it created a pathway for you to come through and recognize that at some point in time, this dark sun mentally created this space for you to get back to. But you had to come here and experience what you mentally created. In order for you to do this, you had to take the same path that Ra took to get here. And this is according to, just to the rate, to the soul. This is where this is coming from, the soul. Your soul doesn't belong to this level of resistance. It doesn't want. It doesn't need. It doesn't. It just is. That's all soul is. And we have to get back to that is state. And the only way we can get back to these states is we have to start looking at the commonalities of collective consciousness. All of these things are factual, actual factual, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Meaning it don't matter if we speak what language or what race you belong to. You're going to have to follow the laws of hydrogen and helium and lithium and beryllium all the way out. Because this was the solidified process that Ra was able to make by way of Ray to come into this solidified existence on this orb called Tama Ray, or Earth, or the planet, whatever name makes you happy. But we have to get back to this collective oneness. And once we tapped into the collective consciousness, then you can tap into the higher dimensions of self, that self exists on, or the soul existing. It exists on and in. Because you're not in the planet, you own the planet. We're not even in it. We just own it. We on top of it. And you're not even... until we on the water, we not on the earth, or we not on the planet. We on something that's up away from it. This has been protruded out. Somebody made that take place. We'll say that for a whole nother class. But my whole point of being, or what I'm trying to say is, or what I am saying, is that in order to activate these dimensions, in order for these portals to open up to us, we all have to be operating on one accord. To some capacity. It has to be enough of us operating on one accord. You know, it can't be no tomato. We both got to be saying tomato. Now, we all know about hydrogen. And if you don't know about hydrogen, you can learn about hydrogen just go to your internet and Google that. You can Google it on up. Same thing with helium. Same thing with all of the other elements. Refer to some of my books. I give an extensive explanation of these elements and how they relate to you. Because the same elements that relate to you, they relate to me. It's nothing different. There is no big eyes and little U's. There's nothing that I know that you can't know. There's nothing I can't see that I can see that you can't see. We all see the same thing. The illusion comes into place. It's the solidification. And we use solidification as a form of verification for things that's already solidified. Now we had to go back from it being solidified and tap back in that mental state and start operating from this mental state, which is a collective conscious state, because all thoughts mesh into one beyond this level. Only in this physical realm can you express some form of individuality. And this is what got us trapped in our lower self. Because this person thinks that they are not me, and I think I'm not them. And I'm not even talking, you know, we could go into layers of this, but I'm just dealing within our own race. And the reason why I keep tapping back in the race is because melanated people were the first ones here, beyond a shadow of a doubt. We was the first ones. We wasn't second. We wasn't third. You know, ain't nobody come to us and give us no knowledge. We incarnated here and made the knowledge. So anytime that I'm coming from a melanated point of view, dealing with my Nubian brothers and sisters, we had to wake up to that first awareness, or that first consciousness, or that first institution, which was instituted by nature itself. They say Mother Nature, the Mother Nature that they're talking about has nothing to do with this planet. Well, this was the name of this planet, Ray. We know Ta is Wu for Ta. You got Ma, Mu, or the Noon. Then you got Ray and Ra. All of these beings, or these deities, or these elements, or these symbolisms are all related to a reality that everyone can identify with beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, if you go do some research and look at all these so-called Egyptologists, these archaeologists, they can never find any documented records of people keeping journals. They're not going to be able to find any documented records of people saying, this is what we was doing at this time, because everybody was on one accord. There's very little writings that you can find in Egypt, or what they call in Egypt. And that goes for Somalia, that goes for Sudan, that goes for Ethiopia. All of that is the same. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same area. They all had the same exact customs, the same exact deities. Where they stopped having the same deities is they got too caught up in the creation of this mental manifestation, and they started to separate from the water. Started to separate themselves from the sun. Started to separate ourselves from the ground, and not thinking that all thoughts are one, which everything under the sun falls back to this black dot, which is the ray. That's the point. You are the point. You are the center. We all are the center of our own centers. And within that center, all is one within you. And this is what connects us to all. It's the awareness of the oneness. And to the point that you can't even say that it's you, or I can't say that it's me. But we are all one. We all one to the point that we don't even want to be one. That's how much of a one that we gotta be. And that's when it'll tap you into onelessness. And once your consciousness has tapped into the onelessness, you got oneness plus onelessness equals boundless. Give up being bound. Stop binding yourself to the humanism. Humanism is all in this. This is where the humanism lies in. The humanism lies. It gets you to confirm the illusion is real. When what's real is what that illusion came from. And it came from the darkness. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what religion, what language you speak. You turn out the lights, everybody see that. Everybody know what darkness is. But ask a blind man what light look like. And guess what he gonna tell you? Shit, I don't know. They ain't gonna know where to begin with that. But they can tell you what the darkness look like. You go down there to El Salvador, a little Spanish boy will tell you what darkness is. Oh yeah, that's darkness. The blind man, the dude that can't hear, the person that's paralyzed. This is the oneness, the darkness. This is your that's reality. Once you turn the lights on, then the illusion begins. So we got to tap into that oneness of the darkness and start operating from there and back. And this will open up your activation process of ascension. Going back into that darkness. You do it every night when you go to sleep. You go into your higher self too. When you in your dreams. You are operating in higher self. And this higher self doesn't answer to the sun that we orbit in. It doesn't have hydrogen and helium and all these things. All of this is physical stuff. So when Dr. Ray be talking about the humanism and you're too humanoid, you're too emotionally evolved, energy and motion. Your energy is motioning towards this illusional state instead of motioning into the reality. If you motion into you take an internal motion, you'll get, as Dr. Patel put one time, this is going in. You're going internal. It's an intern. It's an internal state. In turns all. In turns all. In turns all. Because when you go in, you're going into the darkness. And the darkness expands and contracts. It's a movement that's taking place. And it doesn't need hydrogen in order to make a move. It doesn't need helium in order to make a move. It promotes these things to move. It's compelling it from the darkness. And this is how you tap into your boundless being that you are. Because you a dark soul. You a dark sun. Or a black hole.